So what we're looking at today is something pretty extraordinary. This isn't some article or published book. It's a real formal complaint, a cry for help, sent directly to the Attorney General of California. And it comes from a senior professor right in the heart of Silicon Valley. Let's break down what's in this powerful appeal for justice.
Get this. This is the actual subject line of his complaint. An urgent cry for help. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. He's not just saying, hey, I have a problem with my landlord. No, he's calling out institutional corruption and residential abuse. This isn't just a letter. He's leveling some very serious accusations, and he's aiming them right at the top.
So who's the man behind this complaint? This is Professor Dr. Mohamed Ebrahim Fayad. And he makes it clear, he's not just anyone. This is a man who has dedicated his life to science and education, teaching at San Jose State University. He's really laying the groundwork here, establishing his credibility before he dives into his case.
And this number, 75, is absolutely key to his whole story. At 75 years old, Dr. Fayad argues his age isn't just a number, it's what makes him a target for the very discrimination and abuse he's reporting.
Okay, so the way he lays out his complaint is really interesting. He structures it as a series of trials he's had to endure. And the first one, it's all about what he describes as just relentless financial pressure from several different housing corporations. So he starts listing his experiences, and honestly, it's like a complete catalog of housing nightmares. He claims Avena San Jose had an unsanitary environment and treated him demeaningly. He accuses Prado of straight-up deceptive marketing. And when it comes to Villa Granada, wow, he does not mince words, calling their excessive upfront fees a financial heist. And you can just feel the frustration in his language. It's so powerful. He claims the situation at Avena San Jose went from bad to worse. After dealing with the poor conditions, he alleges the company then hired debt collectors to come after him for money he says he never even owed. In his words, this wasn't just a dispute, it was documented theft under the guise of the law. And this slide really drives home one of his biggest financial complaints. Check this out. At Villa Granada, he was just shocked to find that the total upfront fees to even apply for the apartment were actually more than the first month's rent. I mean, how is that even possible? He basically asks, what's the legal or moral logic that allows for this? All right, let's move on to what he calls his second trial. This is the most detailed story in his whole complaint. It's an incident that he claims was a form of technological and administrative abuse, and it all happened at a complex called City Gate Cupertino. He actually came up with his own term for the experience, digital torture. What he means by that is an online application process that felt intentionally difficult, filled with what he calls artificial technical hurdles that seemed specifically designed to overwhelm and frustrate older applicants like himself. And here's the entire frustrating ordeal step by step. It really was a gauntlet. First, he picks an apartment. Then he has to endure a 6-hour online application process that drags on for 2 days. When that system fails, he goes to the office in person, only to be told the apartment he wanted was suddenly withdrawn. And the final insult? They offer him a different, inferior unit as a replacement. You just can't make this stuff up. You see, for Dr. Fayad, this whole thing was never just about getting an apartment. He saw this entire ordeal as something much more sinister. He believed it was a deliberate attempt to, in his own words, break my will and basically force him into a situation he refused to accept. Now, his complaint doesn't stop with the real estate companies. From here, he widens his focus and takes aim at the very social support systems that are supposed to help people in his situation. So he turned to a place that's literally designed to offer help, the Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, or SVILC. But when he reached out, he claims the support he received was practically non-existent, which left him feeling completely abandoned. His entire interaction with the agency boiled down to just a single visit that achieved nothing. This total lack of action led him to a very disturbing conclusion. He started to suspect collusion. He began to wonder if these support agencies were actually working with the real estate companies against the people they were supposed to protect.
And all of this builds up to the conclusion of his formal indictment. This isn't just a story about his suffering. It's a direct and formal appeal for legal action from the state of California.
This table here really summarizes who he's targeting: He's demanding an investigation into Greystar, Essex, and Avona for financial extortion. He wants Citygate Cupertino held accountable for what he calls digital abuse. And then there's this other crucial piece. He connects his entire housing crisis to what he alleges was an arbitrary termination from his job at San Jose State University, suggesting his vulnerability all started when he lost his job.
So what is he actually asking for? Well, his demands are very specific and clear. An investigation into the real estate companies, accountability for that whole mess at Citygate, a formal review of his termination from the university, and finally, legal protection from the harassing debt collectors he says are after him.
And he ends with this incredibly powerful challenge. He's essentially putting his entire life's work and his vulnerable age in the hands of the justice system, and he's demanding that it either prove its integrity or admit that it has failed to protect citizens like him.
And so we're left with the central question of this entire complaint. Is this just one man's tragic fight for dignity? Or, as Professor Fayad argues, is his story a warning sign of a much deeper crack in the system? That's the question at the very heart of his appeal to the state of California.